want to play. I want to play. Can I play? I want to play. I want to play. I want to play. Can I play? Can I play now?
Pat, I don't know. I'm going to save this tangent for later on the show.
Good.
I can't take this away from you, Pat. It's a good tangent. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. But we've got like 3 other stories, and time's getting on, and there's only 6 people watching us right now. I don't know what it is, but so earlier in the week we talked about Zephyr Cafe in Wellington, and we did a lovely little pithy bit about it closing in support of the trans community in the face of Brian Tarmaki's gathering. Obviously, it wasn't Brian Tarmaki's gathering, and people got so pissy about that. More than Brian Tarmaki. It's like, we know, we're just, we're stretching it. It's just, he was there. He was in the news.
So many dirtbags there. We just mentioned one of them.
So there's this, what word you just use there? Dirtbag? Anyway, there's this person called Bob McCroskey. Now, ironically, I know Bob McCroskey quite well enough that I was used to work in the same building as him. I was there the day Family First started. I remember what he said about it. Bob McCroskey now is avoided by many people in various industries that used to work with him for his extremism. They won't go near him. He sometimes, I normally ignore him, but this is too fun not to talk about tonight. He picks up on my tweets fairly occasionally, and my opinion is that Bob McCroskey and his family like me first. I say like me because he never kind of defends LGBT families or the families with transgender kids. He never defends them. Never defends them. So it's families I agree with first. That's what I call his. Used to be a charity, but struck off because he was deemed a political interested party. He often enough sometimes retweets my stuff, and my theory is like people who live off charitable givings need a crisis every 90 days for fundraising. Like even places like Greenpeace, there needs to be something every 90 days to raise money, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was sort of what it was used for. So Uncle Bob put our picture up there put out a thing about Zephyr Cafe in Wellington, saying this: great, that means Christian caterers, photographers, and other business / organizations don't need to provide services at same-sex weddings if it goes against their personal convictions. Good to know, right?
What a fucking intellectual powerhouse, Bob.
I didn't engage.
As deep as a pudding bowl.
There's no point. I started getting messaging by people, ginger people as well. Damn, it's that guy. Oh, Bob McCroskey is talking about us on the internet. Oh, God. Go and have a look. And I was going to leave it, and I thought, no big deal. So what I did was I wrote a little bit just to correct people who were saying this. And this is what I wrote on Twitter. Didn't tag anyone, didn't put anyone together, just wrote this: if you think Zephyr Cafe closing for one day as a protest is the same as a Christian baker refusing to make a cake for a gay couple, then you're either a dishonest actor or you're a moron. Do I really need to spell it out? Okay. I did actually write sign there as well. I should listen to the audio podcast. Firstly, a Christian baker can't say no to a gay couple for the reason they are a gay couple. You can't say, I won't serve you because you're gay. Sexual orientation is a protected class under the law. So if a business offers a service to the public service, not a private entity, to the public, they cannot refuse to serve that person because of their belonging to the protected class. So the baker can't say, I won't make this cake for you because you are gay. Next customer, please. Imagine that's a line of people, and the person at the front is like, no, you can piss off, you're gay. Next, please. You can't do that. It's not legal. Other protected classes are things like age, race, color, national origin, etc., etc. Secondly, the cafe didn't serve anybody that day. So they didn't isolate one group and say, because of your political beliefs, we aren't serving you. Next customer, please. So they didn't do that. Right. Thirdly, and finally, all of those attending the event could have gone to the cafe the day before for a coffee or the day after. So they weren't refused service. The service just wasn't available on the day they had the conference. Now, dishonest, ideologically driven actors will try and say nuh-uh to this, but these are the facts of the case. You might not like them, but there it is. So the lovely Bob McCroskey posted about that as well and wrote, false again. They closed because they didn't want to serve us, because they don't like our view. Either you're born male or female and a man can't get pregnant. You should be supporting them rather than making weak excuses for them. You know, that exact really perfectly shaped thing. So I responded. I don't normally punch down. I feel sorry for people with this kind of mental fragility. So I said this: That's right, Bob. Gaslight your audience just before you pitch to them to give you funds. Precisely which protected class did the cafe refuse to serve because they weren't a part of that protected class? And then I said to him, you might also want to check with your fellow conference attendees and get on the same page with your accusations of being false. Katrina Biggs, I don't know who she is, but we mentioned her off Calvin Morgan's tweet of the day. She actually put up a thing saying, I checked with my legal advice and what you've said is correct. So they need to get on the same page with all of that stuff. Now, this has been fun so far, but because I actually unfortunately saw a couple of Bob McCroskey's tweets come across my algorithm and I looked at them, then I get more of them. I get more of them. So I got this one today, right? He retweeted Inflection Point New Zealand, and this is about you as well, Chewy. And Inflection Point New Zealand said this: if these guys are defending your position, it's time for a new position, inclusion and diversity, etc., etc. And then they all started coming. So then I saw this one get retweeted by Bob McCroskey. This is from Inflection Point New Zealand. Poor Pat Bitterman got all hurty from the above post and blocked us. Listen to the words I've just used. Just hold your P's and Q's. Hope he's warm in his mum's garage and his neck beard keeps him and his snuggle bunny nice and cozy.
That's on the bingo list. Cool.
The far left love to keep their chambers full of their own echoes, etc. Now, first thing, right? I had never seen this message before. It's the first time ever, Chewy, and there's no need for me to bullshit about this. It's the first time ever someone has outright lied that I blocked them for clout. I don't know who this is. Well, I know who they are. I never saw a tweet before they put up the one about me blocking them, and they're telling the audience that I've blocked them. It's quite interesting, which I didn't do. And then what I've done is I had a couple of fun times interacting with them. I just got to make sure I kind of find it. It's on the end of this one. I've got it stored somewhere else as well. So I just poked them up. I said, well, I seen you, didn't block you. And then I put up a little screenshot saying I didn't block them. And I've said, you're trying to get clout like I have. Thank you for the compliment. I guess you might gift one or two more, get one or two more followers for, or $1 or $2 more line that I blocked you. Their response was, of course, so you unblocked me. What clout? Did you misspell gout? Now, this is where I went back to some interesting things that were said. Notice the person's name. Where have we heard that before? The one place we've heard that before be used. Bitterman. By one person. One particular Karen.
Ollie! Yeah. What are you up to, bro?
Yeah. So that's what set up the bullshit nerve. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I noticed that the neckbeards and the garage or the basement, we hear that quite a lot from Karen Plunkett. And I just went, that's so specific, that Bitterman thing that he's used like once before and no one else has ever used. I thought I'd have a bit of a crack. Right. And so I put the bait out. They said that about misspelling. I just said, see down the bottom here, say hey to Sean from us. Bait. What did they say? Why don't you say hey yourself and go on his show? Okay, so they know immediately who I'm talking about. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll be going on your garage Marxist communist radio thingy. And I just put something like, thanks for confirming. Thanks for the confirmation. So I don't know exactly who or how or where in the equation it is, but either people who work with Sean Plunkett, Karen Plunkett, people were upset with, they won't know who we're talking about. Whatever the name of that guy is that pushes his buttons and that kind of stuff, or someone within that building is associated with this. Now, I've got a friend who's a forensic investigator that can look into the internet and go well beyond a who is and find backroom details. And I've asked him to have a look at the website and see if he can get some information as to who's registered them, who they're under, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But look, I'll tell you something. The way the wording was phrased, the words that we used, it leads me to only one conclusion, that there's a connection, something with Inflection New Zealand and their Twitter feed and the platform. I'm not saying it's definitely Sean. That would be really sad if he was there tweeting, but there's nowhere else and no one else that's ever used that word before. He thinks it's a get. Well, you can do better than that, dude. So that's where I'm at today. And I'm like, okay. And then when I threw out that thing about Sean, they knew straight away. There was no like, who's Sean? What Sean are you talking about? It's like, oh, the radio Sean. Done. So I don't normally engage. I don't engage because they are that stupid. They give it away that easily. They're that easy to bait. But it was fun. It was fun for a wee while, and now I'll ignore them again. And that's even worse for them because then we live rent-free in their brain. And Bob McCroskey will probably clip this and use this to raise another $7 for his families that are like me first, non-charity.
Yeah.
Chewy.
Bob McCroskey, Krusty Cockskin, I don't know, whatever.
Bob McCroskey.
Since we're making fun of people's last names, I'm just saying, is a hateful bigot. No,
is that your honest held belief? Is that your honest held belief?
He's a hateful bigot. The family first that he's talking about is the family that he imagines in his head.
It's the same as when people say we should all be alike. What they're saying is be like me. When he's talking about families first, he's talking about the families because he's the one I approve of first. I've never seen them defend transgender parents. I've never seen them fight for the LGBT world.
There's only one family that he has in mind. White, Christian, mum and dad, however many kids. And those kids, they better come out straight, because if they're not, in the sea.
Yeah. I wouldn't say what. I'm it's almost a failing of me that I want to be fair. I wouldn't say white. They work with a lot of Māori and Pacific Islanders. But let's say Western. You can say Western. There are a lot of Māori and Pacific Islanders that work in those and who are fans. So look, I'm just being fair, even though they don't deserve fairness, but that just goes to showing you what we try and do here. If they don't deserve us to be fair, they deserve our ridicule and exaggeration, but I will still be fair and say, no, I won't put the white cis on them.
I will.
You can put cis. You can put cis, but I just wouldn't put white.
The families that he has in mind fit in his very rigid definition of what an acceptable family is.
Yep.
And the world has changed, and it has made him hateful and fearful.
Yep.
He is not an intellectual powerhouse. He is not a weather vane on where society as a whole wants to be. He's a scared, hateful old man, screaming into the wind.
Sorry.
And yeah, just bleh.
It's just fun. I just, you know what? The problem with getting into these kind of back and forths from thing, if you can't stop it, it never stops. Whereas like, I'll do my last comment, I'm like, you're done. It's not a big deal. I don't need to engage in this, but people just keep going and keep going and keep going. It's like, it's just that's why I don't tend to engage.
It's an internet pile on, it's one of the other reasons I'm happy not to be on Twitter anymore. In the chat, it's in the ballot, had the same thought that I did. Maybe it's Ben Espiner.
Is that the guy? Is that the producer guy? Maybe.
That's Ollie's little minion.
Maybe. But we don't know. Just thinking out loud. No accusations. I really
want to know. Every time I see Ben Espiner, I'm like, I'm sure I know him. I'm sure I've had an interaction with him at some point, and it bugs me. Ben, if you're watching the show, give us a shout out if we've met.
Why don't you give us a call on Discord tomorrow night? I do love that thing is you can always call in. It's like, no. If you want to speak to me,
you call us.
You can invite me on. I'll come on.
I also think that we should register the website, The Garage Marxists.
Not bad, actually. That's a podcast, isn't it?
It's pretty good.
I like this one from Daniel. Bobby wants us to have two dads just like Jesus did. I've never heard that. I love that. That might be a t-shirt. Good. That might be a fucking t-shirt, mate. Two dads just like Jesus. Maybe that shows I'm a bit insulated, but that's very good.